Some time ago, a friend asked me, Sandra, do you think this world will ever have peace in it? Because he was so disturbed by the ongoing wars we experience here on earth. And I asked him this one simple question: are you at peace within? And of course, his answer was no. If we are not all at peace within, wanting good for each other at all times, then how can we expect peace out there in that world? There is no harmony in us. And if there is no harmony in us, how can there be harmony out there? So before we get caught up about peace out there, we must strive for peace in here. And in order to do that, we must first understand the war that we have going on inside of us, the mental turbulence that give rise to our fears, anxieties, depression, hate, anger, aggressiveness, and even illnesses in the body. Because somehow I do not believe that we truly realize what it is we do to ourselves to steal away our peace. But in order to address that war, we must first ask ourselves some pertinent questions, and from those questions, then we're in a better position now to formulate a simple and clear path to peace. So here are some questions you could start asking yourself in order to arrive to that point of peace, or to that place and state of being of peace. Is peace possible, really, when you want this one to like you and that one over there to have a positive opinion of you, no matter how you behave or whatever you do? When you depend on others to tell you how great you are, and they can't tell you that, and they just won't tell you, or they just don't, because you don't have enough self-worth. So what happens to you? You end up becoming devastated. Is peace possible when you're so concerned about other people's judgment of you, and you're not strong enough to look objectively at what their judgment is to determine if there is any value in it, so that you can fix whatever it is you need to fix in yourself, because it is for your betterment? When you feel you must live up to people's expectations of you, who you should be, how you should be, what you should do, etc. When you are the one who should be able to determine this based upon divine principles, upon moral values, upon a rich value system. How is peace within possible when you are carrying this heavy weight of receiving, wanting to receive validation and approval? And so what happens? You end up becoming a victim when you don't get these. How is peace possible when you need to be right at all times, and yet you go about creating conflict and enmity unnecessarily? Really and truly, is peace possible in such an environment? Is peace possible when you keep comparing yourself to others? The only way you can stand out above others is to put them down, crush them, walk over them, destroy them. When you desire what others have, so you become covetous and you become unhappy because you don't have what they have and you want what they have, and you end up taking questionable paths to have it, and you can even cause destruction along the way. And when your desires seem to be unending, you have an unending list of desires. Is peace possible when you're very attached to people and then they pull away and you get upset, rather than blessing them to go their way or even seek them out for healing? Be grateful instead for however long they've been a part of your life, for all that you've learned along the way, because they were in your life. That would be the better thing, wouldn't it? Is peace possible when you have unrealistic expectations of people to be what you want them to be to you? And if they can't, it is because they just don't have it in them. So you can't squeeze it out of them. Um, you know, you end up losing peace and happiness because of all of this. And really and truly, when you look at it, isn't it silly of us to do this and to have such unrealistic expectations? Is peace possible when you're attached to outcomes and you become broken when it doesn't turn out the way you want it, when it appears to be unfavorable? You see yourself at that point, and even others, when it happens to them, as a failure, instead of learning and growing through the experience. Is peace possible when you cannot accept what is before you that you do not like, and that you won't, that you don't even understand, that you won't always get it right? Because right for you is always something subjective, and it is always based on some level of expectation, when really and truly they are usually factors that impact the outcome and the results that are not in your control. Those factors may not be fully in your control. Is peace possible when you are constantly living to impress and to prove yourself to others, that you feel you must arrive at some level of success, whatever you define that to be, instantly, you know, and you cannot count every step you take towards that point as being a success in itself? Is peace possible when you take high risks and not prepared inwardly and outwardly for any potential high losses? In other words, you don't have the inner constitution for it. When your identity and sense of self, your self importance and relevance, are all based on everything out there, on everything physical, how you look, your status, your achievements, what you've attained in life. And if you notice, everything I'm talking about so far is very impermanent, ever changing, very unstable. And you're placing your state of being, peace, upon that. Is peace possible when all your thoughts are on money, 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 and would do anything for it, even compromise your values and your relationships because you become very obsessive over it and even greedy? Because it is necessary to have all of this because it defines you. This is who I am. Look at what I have, right? Look at the wealth I've accumulated. I'm above all of these people. Is peace possible in such an environment when you keep wanting more and more, and would even, you start looking at who is depriving you of getting more and more and who's taking from you? And you can easily end up becoming very selfish and greedy too. How can there be peace in such an environment? Is peace possible when every day you have to worry about putting food on your table, paying your bills, a permanent place called your home, safe shelter, a place to live in, and not be subjected to uncertainties all the time? And many of us are facing that today. We are living in a very uncertain world. And yet, in that environment, we don't even have that ability in us to take the focus away from being so self absorbed and instead learn how to share and give a bit. When you have to make choices, where you end up making choices to cut ties with your family, and therefore you have no love, you have no support, nobody is there for you. Is peace possible? Is peace possible when you're faced with these and you have no personal relationship with your Creator, the source of limitless supply for your limited needs. Actually, we think we have an unending list of needs. That list is so limited compared to the limitless supply of our Creator, that source from which we came. When you have no faith, no trust, and you do not surrender to that greater intelligence, that creative power through which all things are possible. Is peace possible when you want to continuously control and have control and even control others? You don't even have control within. So how can there be peace? How can you even control others? Right? You don't even have, you can't have peace within. Is peace possible when you engage continuously in agitating activities, in aggravated conversations and discussions? There's so many people who keep exposing themselves to these situations online, to non-peaceful environments. Sometimes you go online and you look at the news and you get engaged in all the issues of this world that are not pleasant. And this list of questions can go on and on. How can we be at peace when there is so much mental noise going on upstairs? If you noticed, in every question I just asked, each one started with when you, not when they or when it, but when you want, when you depend, when you expect, when you are attached, when you cannot accept, when you have unending desires, etc. Often we think we can only be at peace when everyone and everything outside of us is perfect. But as you can tell by now, we've already established that all of that can fluctuate. So that's not the place to put your reliance on for peace. Instead, if you're looking for peace, you have to go and adjust yourself within. And to stop the mental noise, to stop the identification with everything that goes on upstairs. When you do that, when that noise starts to dissipate, then you have some room for the peace that already exists in us, that is beneath that noise, to rise up, for it to arise. When there is spaciousness, that peace will arise. Okay? So, how can we expect peace in this world when we have all this war going on inside of us, in our minds? So that is where, if we want to solve peace in the world, we have to start solving that peace, that problem of the war in our minds. Do you know that there are many common folks and yogis living their lives in quiet, despite the current world situation? They are not fighting for external freedoms out there. And mind you, I'm not saying you cannot go and fight for your external freedoms. So please don't leave me any nasty message. If you feel that's your calling and that is something you want to do, by all means, go ahead and do your fight. Okay? They are actually very much engaged and occupied with inner freedom. Because for peace, no matter what is going on in that world externally, they're at peace within. And in fact, yogis are in bliss consciousness. Now, recently I went online and I heard someone say that smart people are the ones who are not happy. They're not at peace, almost implying that they are the ones who have the problem because they're so smart, right? They have so much to accomplish and achieve, okay? Let me tell you something. Not only smart people are not at peace, okay? The not so smart ones, some of you all might call them dumb. I don't want to call anybody dumb, but the not so highly intellectual ones too are also not at peace. They have their own issues going on, lots of stuff going on. Okay? They don't know happiness either. You see, turbulence is reserved not just for the smart people, the achievers. Turbulence can occur also in the not so smart because they have a head full of stuff going on. Turbulence belongs to all those who are ignorant, to all of us who are unconscious. Okay? So now that we have established that, let me guide you and take you on a journey to a simple path to peace. That thing we all desire, but have a tendency to look in the wrong places for it out there. So the first thing I suggest you do is to identify what it is you're at war with in your mind, all your conflicts, everything that creates turbulence in you, and review all the questions I just outlined. It's a long list, but not a fully comprehensive one, because I'm sure you can come up with your own and see what is relevant to you. What it is you're identified with, all the false identity you've created, your unrealistic expectations, your unending wants and desires, always wanting more, never satisfied unnecessarily, your attachments, your unhealthy habits, your judgments, your choices, your need to be right and better and above others, greed and selfishness. Notice how much your focus is in opposition to peace. Your inability to let go, always grasping, wanting control. You have to fight to the end, and in the end, fighting with yourself. Your lack of acceptance that creates internal resistance and resentment. All your fears due to uncertainties, which means that you lack faith and trust and are unable to surrender to a higher power, that greater intelligence, that one source from which life came out. Look at what it is you expose yourself to and how these actually impact and impress your consciousness and state of being. The imprint these leave determines how deep and how much work you need, how deep you need to go and how much work you need to do. And this is going to require patience and greater attentiveness. The second step I say is now that you know, and now I say you truly know, because maybe you were aware to a certain extent, but now you're really finally bringing in real awareness on that war in you. Now that you can do that, you are going to eliminate them. Cut yourself free from all the chains that bind you and weigh you down. When you are free within, then you're going to be at peace. Next thing you could do is start noticing every time that mental chatter arises, the war that starts up. Disidentify from it. Detach. Do not hold on to the story. You see, when the war is going on, it's because we have an ongoing story happening within us. Get rid of that grasp. Because, we all have stories to tell. Okay? So if you can let go of that old story, that ongoing story, you're going to find that eventually you're going to be able to laugh at what it is you give your peace away to. Because often you're going to find that it is based on things that are not in your control. And when you could start to laugh at what you give your peace up to, know that you're waking up. And when you're waking up, you start waking up, know that peace is on its way. It's going to arise. Okay? When mental chatter decreases, you're going to find that there's greater space for clarity. Why? Because there's no clutter stuffed up in there. There's spaciousness, there's emptiness for the peace to arise from beneath that noise. Okay? Next thing to do is start changing your exposure to more peaceful and calming ones. Go into peaceful environments, nature, sacred spaces. Even if you go online and you engage in something spiritual such as this, limit your time you spend there. So many people live online on social media. Try to, when you spend time there, there's only just take the information and go away and put it into your life, bring it into your life. Okay? Expose yourself in the physical presence, not online alone. Okay? Don't tuck yourself away into some world by yourself where you're making space now to act up mentally. Okay? Go and spend time in the physical presence of peaceful people. Okay? Change the nature of things that you engage in to divine and peaceful things. Why? Because all of this is going to change your state of being and bring you to a more peaceful and pleasant place within. Only self-realized teachers and saints and sages can place themselves in aggravated situations and not lose their peace because they know themselves beyond this body, beyond their mind, okay? Until you can come to that place of self-realization of who you truly are, which is not dependent on everything in this world, okay? Only then you could allow yourself to be in aggravated situations, okay? Otherwise, you have to make a conscious and deliberate choices to control your environment and what it is you expose yourself to. In the Holy Bible, in Matthew chapter 10, verse 28, Jesus said, he won't. He said, fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul. Why? Because the soul is up to you. What happens within you is up to you. But rather fear him which is able to kill this body as well as the soul. Okay? The next one I would say, take practical steps to resolve anything that is in your power to eliminate the stress in your life. Anything that will eliminate your fears and anxiety and depression. You know, sometimes we don't know. Some people are going through poverty. They don't have food on their table. You're going to have to take practical steps. Maybe ask for help. Get a safe place to live. Do something to increase earnings as much as you possibly can. And once you know you've done the best you can to eliminate or to work through the uncertainties in your life, and they're going to be, you've done the best you can, that is within your control, and if things are not changing, then all you have to do now, you've done the best, let it go, and develop a faith and trust in that creative power, that divine power. Surrender to it. You know, in Matthew, in the Holy Bible, in Matthew chapter 9, verse 29, Jesus said, according to your faith, be it unto you. How deep is your faith, so will it be for you. Now, I'm going to share another verse from the Holy Bible that I just love, and it's in Exodus chapter 14, verse 14. It says, the Lord will fight for you. All you need to do, you need only to be still. And why I like this verse is because it is telling you, go ahead, do the best you can. And you know, the heavy lifting, the things that we worry about, the Lord is going to fight for you. He is going to do it for you. He will do the heavy lifting. You do your best, and He's going to bring everything and everyone together as is needed for you. Okay? But it comes with a stipulation. It says, all you need to do is to be still. Be at peace, surrender unto the Lord, trust and have faith, and go about knowing you've done your best and something greater than you is in control. working for you. Also, in the Holy Bible, in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, Jesus said, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." So, after you've done your best, and you feel you're burdened, and you've labored, and you are heavy laden, let it go. Let go the fears, and surrender unto the Lord. And that is when peace. You're at peace because you know you've given the burden away. You've handed it over to a greater power. The next thing I say, slow down a little bit. Don't keep rushing around and doing all sorts of things. Slow down, create a sanctuary at home, relax in quiet in your sacred space, and learn how to just be still. And to be still, I mean relax at home in your sacred space doesn't mean to be online. Stay offline as often as you possibly can, okay? And engage in daily prayers, read scriptural texts, and as well as spiritual texts. And I also recommend my book called Insights a Life Companion, which is available on Amazon. You're going to find that in every chapter, while it helps you to awaken to yourself and to help you through this battlefield of life, it always ends up making you feel okay within. So I recommend books like that. Daily prayers and gives you the opportunity to feel connected to your Creator, the power that brings everything into being and brings peace within. One of the things I love in ancient Eastern teachings is that whenever they pray, their prayers always ends with Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti Om. And Shanti is a Sanskrit word for peace, as well as in the Catholic Church. And you'd find I tend to refer to ancient Eastern teachings as well as Christianity because both have influenced my life profoundly. And at least in the Catholic Church, I know when the services ended, you are bid to leave in peace, go in peace, go with peace. And this is what prayers do. They encourage you to feel connected to a peaceful power within. And the ninth one, I would say, I will end off one in this simple path to peace, is always to meditate. Meditation makes you become physically still, as well as to come to that place of stillness within. It helps you to realize who you are beyond the body, the mind, the senses, everything that you're identified with externally, to realize who you truly are and to realize that all of this, you're going to be leaving that behind anyway, okay? And, in Eastern teachings, in one of the scriptures in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna was teaching Arjuna. Arjuna was having difficulty going out into the battlefield. He was in turbulence within himself. I'm not going to get into details, but because he needed to realize who he was, okay? Forgetting who you are, that you are beyond all of this, makes it difficult for you to go out into the battlefield and do what is needed to face that war out there. When you realize who you are in meditation, and you start to experience yourself anything beyond this mind and the senses and all the things that you're caught up with in the world, you're going to find that a certain sense of peace is going to alight within. Okay? As you can see, peace within is possible as long as you're willing to do what it takes to attain it and actually do what is required. Look at all the things you do willingly to not have peace. Yes, let me repeat that. Look at everything you do to not have peace in your life. Surely you can now redirect all that effort to do willingly everything needed to attain peace within. Let me now share with you this adaptation of the serenity prayer. Change the things you can, accept with humility that which you cannot change, and have the wisdom to know the difference. Always remember that the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Now, I would actually change that around and say, you know what? Be still, and then the Lord can fight for you. You see, when you're still, it doesn't mean to say you're not doing anything. You go about and do the best you can with whatever you have, whatever capabilities you have, and whatever you need to do, whatever is in your control. And once you do that, you leave the rest up to the Lord, and He can fight for you. He will deal with your fears. In fact, you have no more fears because He's dealing with your troubles. He's dealing with the uncertainties. He's dealing with what you cannot do. You see, if you are the one in control and you're doing everything and you're not surrendering it and letting it go unto the Lord, well, He has no work to do. He can't fight for you. You're fighting. You're doing all the fighting. You're carrying the heavy load, the burden. So be still so that the Lord can fight for you. When you're at peace within, that is when you can cross this battlefield of life, this turbulent ocean of life, assured that you're going to live on for eternity. Because, all the stuff you were concerned about, it's going to be left behind after you shed this body. Always remember that, okay? So, let that be something to think about, to bring you to a peaceful state, okay? And I leave you now by saying, may peace be with me, so that I can wish you peace be with you. And I pray that peace alight upon the whole world, upon all the leaders, upon all nations. And I encourage you to make this prayer every day your prayer, and see the shift that will occur within you, a positive shift to bring you to a peaceful state of being.